now it's time to get started. Grab your gloves. Okay, now that we have our gloves on, we're going to start mixing our paints. Since this is a pretty small canvas, I'm not going to be doing 4 ounces of paint for each of our colors. I think I'm just going to be doing 2 ounces total for each one, and maybe 4 ounces of the white, because I am going to use the white one as a base coat. So I might do 4 for the white and only 2 for the rest of the paint. So let's start with the white, and we're going to add 1 part paint. So we're going to add 1 ounce. Okay, just a little bit more. And you're going to add 3 ounces of Floetrol. Make sure that you mix or that you shake your Floetrol bottle. If your Floetrol is too old or has been sitting for a long time, sometimes it creates some goopy things inside. So if you do see something come out, it's always a good idea to strain it. But right now, I don't think this one has anything in it, but oh, actually it does. There, see? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, if you see something like that, just take it out. And that's a new bottle. But yeah, sometimes I get those clumps in there, sometimes I don't. I'm not sure why, but if you do find one, take it out. Or if you prefer, you can strain the Floetrol before using it, and then that way you make sure that you really don't have any clumps in there. Mix this really well, and then we're going to add some water in it. I have 1/2 ounce of water here, and I'm going to add it slowly, a little bit at a time. Mix it in, keep adding more. Okay, I'm going to tell you about how much water I've added, but I'm still going to show you the consistency of the paint. Even if you're measuring the same brand of paint and the same amount of paint and the same amount of pouring medium that I'm mentioning here, you might get a thicker mixture than I have if your paint is a little bit older and thicker. Let me see if this is enough water for this paint mix. So I think this is good enough. So the paint is flowing off from the stick in a steady stream. You can see how it forms a little mound. As the paint falls in the cup, it makes a little mound right there, okay? So we're going to count how many seconds it takes for a drop of paint to integrate with the rest of the paint in the cup. And that will give you an idea of the consistency of your paint mix. So let's give this a try. 1, 2. 1, 2. So it takes about 2 seconds for that paint to integrate. I'm going to add a little bit more water because I want this to have closer to a 1 second mound. So I'm adding 1/4 of an ounce. So currently we have about 3/4 of an ounce of water. That's what we've added here. And I think that will be enough, but let's still check our paint. When you're checking the paint consistency, doing the drop test, you want to make sure that you lift your stirring stick about 1 inch above your paint, and then let the drop fall from that distance. 1. Yeah, I think it's about 1 second. Let's see. Good. It's coming, it's coming. 1, 2. Let's see. Trying to see and put it in the camera as well, so 1, 1, 2. The drop disappears before I count to 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. So yeah, that should be good enough. Now you're going to mix your turquoise blue. Again, now for this one, let's add 1/4 of an ounce. I know this is going to be a little tricky here because we're adding a very tiny amount. Actually, we're adding 1/2 ounce, not 1/4. We're adding 1/2 ounce of paint. So we're adding about 1 part paint and 3 parts pouring medium. So we did 1 ounce white paint and 3 ounces of pouring medium, and that gave us a total of 4 ounces of paint. Now here, I'm going to do 1/2 ounce of paint. So now we're going to add 3 times that amount of pouring medium. So we're going to add 1.5 ounces. So 1.5 ounces of pouring medium plus 1/2 ounce of paint is going to give us 2 ounces. So we're going to fill this up to the 2 ounce mark. And measuring the water for this is going to be a little tricky because these cups don't have measurements that are that small. So I can only see the 1/2 ounce, but you can use these other type of cups that have, these are 30 milliliter cups, and 10 milliliters, no, 30 milliliters is roughly 1 ounce. So it's a little bit easier to measure our water for these smaller amounts here with these type of cups. Okay, I have 30 milliliters in there. I'm not sure if that's going to be too much. Wait, did I say 30? No, I have 10 milliliters in there, sorry. So 10 milliliters is roughly 1/3 of an ounce. I think it's too thick. Yeah, so I think we might need the whole 1/3 of an ounce in there. Still too thick. So I have 5 more milliliters. So now I'm adding roughly 15 mils, so 1/2 ounce maybe? Okay, I think I need more. Maybe not quite the full 1/2 ounce. So let's give this a try. No. It's still taking a long time. Wow, okay. See what I mean? Sometimes, like for this, I'm doing half the amount of what I did with the white, and I'm almost using the same amount of water. The paints just really depend. You know, what you're using, how old they are, how much time they've been sitting on the shelf, the brand of the paint, the batch that you got it from. Yeah, this is taking like 2 seconds. Okay, I have another 5 ounces here, so that's about 20 milliliters so far. How much is 20 milliliters in ounces? 2/3? Yeah, 2/3 of an ounce. 1, 2. So the drop integrates before I have a chance to say 2. So I think we're good with that. We didn't quite add exactly the 2/3 of an ounce. I still have some water left over in there. So let's see, how much was it? So it was about 18 ounces of water. Not 18 ounces, 18 milliliters of water. Okay, next one, yellow, same thing, 1/2 ounce of paint, 1.5 ounces of pouring medium. I got myself 20 milliliters here of water. So 2/3 of an ounce of water. We'll see how much it takes to get this to the right consistency. One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. So yeah, this one's good. Let's mix our light blue and then emerald green. It's roughly taking about 2/3 of an ounce of water for these paints, but just to make sure, you know, start adding water little by little, because it's better to have it be a little too thick and then just continue adding water to thin it down than making your paint super thin because you went overboard with the water, and then now you have to thicken it up, and you end up having to create a ton of paint because you have to add a lot more paint now, you know, from the tube to thicken it up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So it does dissipate before counting to 2. So we're gonna call that good. And now the last one. This one, I've had it for such a long time that it is super, super thick. So your measurements are going to be completely different for this paint because yours is going to be probably be a lot thinner than what mine is. Because like I said, I've had it for just such a long time that it's starting to thicken up. You can start doing that right now. Okay, I got 1/2 ounce roughly in there. If for some reason this turns out to be thinner, because I can't remember what the consistency, the true consistency of this paint is when it comes from the store, but if you add the 1.5 ounces of Floetrol and you feel like your paint is way too thin, then just add more paint, okay? Just add a little bit more paint until it thickens up to the correct consistency. But I think it's not as thin as I remember. That needs water. I have 20 milliliters of water in here. But again, this is probably going to be different for you just because my paint is super thick. You might need to add a little bit less water than me. I don't know. Just add little by little, do the drop test, check your paint, make sure it has a similar consistency to all the other paints that you've mixed so far. And the consistency doesn't need to be spot on. It has to be very close, but not, obviously not perfect. You can be a little bit off and still be okay. This is a little harder to see because metallics kind of form these circles in there that don't disappear. So when a drop falls, you probably think that the drop is still there, but the drop already flattened out. So you just have to look at it closely. You might not see it here on camera, but 1, 2. So it does dissipate within the 2 seconds. 1, 2. So I think this is good. Okay. Now, okay, so for the paint, the green paint, I added just like 10 milliliters of water, so 1/3 of an ounce. Let me tell you how we're going to layer our colors.